All right, welcome to Mayor's Mixtape, Episode 6. I am Haley Sue Robinson, Director of Public Affairs for the City of Pueblo.
City of Pueblo Mayor Heather Graham.
Chief of Staff Brian McCain.
That's the man behind the microphone, or the voice that appears from nowhere.
Yes, the man behind the mic.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so welcome to Episode 6. We are on Buzzsprout, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're also on local channel 17, wherever you get your podcasts. We actually hit over 65 downloads on last week's episode.
Nice.
On just Buzzsprout. So like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to submit a question or topic, you can email us mayor@pueblo.us so that we know what you want to talk about, or we can answer your burning questions. Okay, so Mayor, I noticed that you're wearing teal.
Yes.
Today.
And I don't know why no one else is wearing teal, but I got the memo.
Right. So I thought that I was actually getting pretty close to teal, and then you reminded me that I have a teal suit. So I failed today.
You can go home and change. I'll allow that.
Okay, great. But the reason for teal is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the police department put something out on their Facebook page inviting folks to wear teal in solidarity for the month of April. So that's why you're wearing teal today.
Yeah. Well, we will wear teal more often this month.
Yeah, throughout the month.
Yeah.
It's also Child Abuse Prevention Month, and so we had folks last week at City Council for some proclamations for that. Week of the Young Child is next week. So there's a few things that are going on in the community that we can support this month.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so, we didn't have a work session last night.
No, it's nice.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Fifth Monday.
Fifth Monday, yes. However, you were still really busy last week.
And last night, yes.
And last night, sure, of course. So, Mayor, you met with 6 citizens last week, and you had a variety of topics which ranged from the airport, economic development, cleanup efforts. You also had a couple of media interviews, and attended 2 community events with outside organizations. Is that like a typical week for you?
That's a pretty mild week.
That's a slow week.
That's a slow week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it was spring break, so it was slow.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So there were a lot of organizations that maybe were off, or we had folks that weren't in the office type of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a slow week usually.
You're always busy.
We take a lot of meetings, a lot of citizen meetings, a lot of meetings with outside entities.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing our town halls during the week at night.
Sure.
President Aliff and I. We have another one this week on Thursday at Lamb Branch at 5:45, giving the community more information about the upcoming ballot measure 2A for the May 6th election. Last night, the chief and Carlos Sykes were up testifying at the Capitol against House Bill 1147, so I don't even think they started testifying till after 9 o'clock. So
it was definitely after 8:30, I think, when you let me know they were testifying.
Yeah, it was a late night. They did an excellent job. Unfortunately, the bill passed 5-2.
Okay.
There was good testimony given by several chiefs and City Attorney Sykes, so they were able to answer several questions and really tell Pueblo's story on how this bill is going to hinder our ability to put people through municipal court.
Okay, so now that it's passed, what does that mean?
It'll go to the Senate floor.
Okay.
So it passed out of Senate Judiciary. So now it will go to all the senators to make a vote, and they haven't scheduled that. Right, Brian?
No, and I believe just a few texts going through this morning, I think the Republicans in the Senate, they're going to put it on their kill list to try to stop it or draw out time on it. So they are opposed to it. But, again, they're a minority and a majority.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There was, I heard one of the senators last night who's carrying the bill, call it barbaric for municipalities to put people in jail. And maybe, that senator needs to come to our community and see what's going on in our community with merchant theft and lower level crimes. It's unfair. It's unfair for our community who doesn't have the best representation carrying our voices, and that we have to go up there. as a city and fight back on legislation that's being passed by people who are from our community.
Wow. Okay. Any other legislative updates that we need to know about, Brian?
That's it right now. They're going into the long bill, which is the budget stuff. So you're going to see kind of a pause on everything else until they get through this. Obviously, the failure to appear, fairness and transparency in municipal court, and another municipal court bill. They're kind of a 3-bill package. And what we're going to do as a city is work to contact the governor's office, maybe ask him to veto the 3 bills as a package. There's some alternative bills out there that, why not? Great. They're better than these that they're putting out. So right now it's just a politicking game. Okay.
So we kind of just wait and see for now.
Yep.
All right. Let's turn to some good news. You shared with us yesterday, I say us, here in the office, you shared before we left work for the day that you received some good news from the Department of Local Affairs.
Yeah, so DOLA, so the city, since I've been in office and even before I was in office, has been has had a good track record with receiving large grants from DOLA. So we got $1 million grant for the Riverwalk back in February of last year. In May of last year, we traveled to Montrose and we were successful in receiving another $1 million grant for our real-time crime center. So that same grant is going to become available in September so that the city can apply to. And we wanted to focus our efforts with that $1 million on the shelter. So we're going to be applying for a $1 million grant in September for the shelter.
Okay.
To add, additional space. It's an infrastructure. It's not an operational grant, so it has to be infrastructure-based. In order to successfully have a plan for that grant, we applied for a planning grant through DOLA to put a larger plan together for the shelter overall, and we were successful, and we received news last night that we received a $25,000 grant from DOLA to do planning for the shelter. So
cool.
That's really exciting.
That is great.
We know that there's upgrades that need to be made. We hear a lot of community members talk about the unhoused and the pets. They have a great pet facility at the Colorado Springs Rescue Mission.
Yeah,
and
they really
so
do.
we'd like to try to mimic what they have in Colorado Springs so that in the winter or when it's really hot, people have a place to go that they can also store their pets. So,
okay.
And that it's safe.
Yeah.
So that's something I know that we're going to be looking at when we try to apply for the grant.
Great. So is this is separate from what we talked about last week? We had a question last week about tiny homes, and you shared about the pallet shelter plan at the Pueblo shelter. This is separate funding.
Totally separate, totally funding. And like I said, the city's been very successful in DOLA grants, and so we hope to obtain a large grant at the end of the year for the shelter.
Cool. So this $25,000 kind of sets us up for that next step with DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs.
Yeah, absolutely. They like you to have a whole picture, an idea, specifics on what you're going to be asking for. And so since we don't know specifics yet and what that would look like, this will be a great opportunity to get someone to help us do a plan forward so we can apply for the grant.
Great. And it's really good timing, too, with our RFP for the shelter and whoever's going to run the shelter next. Yeah. Kind of gives them the opportunity for us to work alongside them.
Yep, we have an ordinance that will be on second final presentation on April 14th for the funding of the RFP. So I'm hoping to have council's support in order to pass the funding source for the RFP.
Great.
So that we can continue to operate the shelter and we don't have to close the shelter. And I think that we have the support. The city council has been very supportive of everything the city's trying to do with the shelter. So this is just another area that we can move forward in with the grants that we've been able to receive.
Great. That's fantastic. And if I remember correctly, we should be able to potentially award the RFP by May?
Yeah, definitely. So once we have the funding, the RFP review process will start shortly after. And then, the board that's selecting the RFP will notify
Great.
And we'll be well on our way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then we'll be able to move forward.
We'll be able to move forward.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing the good news
Yeah.
in that update. Okay. So I wanted to talk about something that you're pretty passionate about. Cleanup in Pueblo. You've championed this, when you were on city council, and obviously it's been something that's been at the forefront while you've been mayor. Can you talk about kind of the various departments that provide cleanup efforts in the city? I think one thing that we hear a lot is, why aren't you cleaning up here or this property or this area? Or like what team is doing this or what group effort is happening. So I thought maybe we could talk about the difference of the groups that we have here in the city.
Sure. So I think 2 years ago, the city received $1 million in ARPA that they dedicated to a project called Team Up to Cleanup. So this group is able to go out and clean areas and census tract areas all over the city. So these are part-time employees that work under a coordinator. They're out there 5 days a week. They start about 7:30 in the morning and finish about 1:30 in the afternoon. And they hit census tract areas in the city. So you'll see them around. They have the bright green T-shirts on that say Team Up to Cleanup. So they do a lot of cleaning in Bessemer and on the east side, since those are census tract areas.
Sure.
So that's just one of our teams that we use. We have the city municipal court community service division.
Right.
They do the graffiti removal, and they've also helped coordinate and do additional cleanups. So when we have the really big cleanups, like on the Fountain Creek or certain areas of the city, they're the ones that organize the cleanup, contacting all other departments and all other cleanup groups to come out, and that could be our public works department, our stormwater department, parks, the Team Up to Cleanup, the municipal court team. It could be outside agencies like the railroad. So most of the time when you see us cleaning up and down the Fountain Creek or in the jungle where we cleaned not too long ago, those properties butt up to railroad. And so we try to have a coordinated effort with the railroads in which they come in and also bring their cleanup crews. So they burn some of the costs of the cleanup. It's a more timely cleanup because we have extra hands on deck. You see our Team Up to Cleanup crew a lot under the bridges. 4th Street and 8th Street are really big problems for the city, and
High traffic areas.
Tons of trash, tons of illegal dumping. The fields out in the community, we see a ton of illegal dumping, and so they work together to go and clean up those areas as well. And then we also have a partnership with Catholic Charities. So last year, the city of Pueblo took $200,000 of that $1 million in ARPA funds, and we provided that to Catholic Charities to have a charity works program. So they actually find unhoused individuals who want to come and work for a few hours a day. They take them out to help them clean up trash, and then they're given gift cards essentially as their pay. We've seen a lot of individuals who have gone from just cleaning up trash to now in Catholic Charities' other works programs and being placed in jobs and housing. So overall, it's a community-led effort, not just the city, but also Catholic Charities. We also have the Downtown Association that I know partners with the high schools, and you'll see the high schools downtown cleaning up trash. I think they're out every month right now.
Yeah, I think they rotate through each of the schools.
Yeah, so we have a lot of cleanup going on. And then we also have code enforcement.
Right.
Code enforcement is great. They do all of our abatements. So when it comes to code enforcement, that's going to be when you have a private property that, has some junk in the yard or has stuff that they're not supposed to have. Code enforcement goes out, they cite them, tell them which code that they're breaking at the city. If they don't have their property cleaned up, then we send an abatement crew out. We clean up their property for them, and then we issue them a bill. If they don't pay their bill, we put a lien on their house. Okay. So you have different aspects. So code enforcement is really for private property.
Right.
Team Up to Cleanup is really the QTC areas. Municipal court and Mike's team can pretty much go anywhere, and they help schedule the larger cleanups. So you'll see them doing different cleanup aspects all over town. You have the Catholic Charity Works program, and I believe that they can go anywhere as well. So we're spending a lot of time, cleaning up the city and maintaining the cleanup that we do.
Right.
Really trying to redirect people who are coming out of the encampments to the shelter. We work really well with the DICE team when we're going to clean up an encampment. That now that the city has a shelter, we know how many beds are there. We know what kind of resources are being offered, and so we can take individuals back and forth. We can point them in the right direction. So it's really a whole city department, initiative. It kind of just depends on what part of town we're cleaning, kind of what the mess looks like, whether we have to have heavy equipment or not. So we've removed a lot of trash since I became the mayor. A lot of trash.
I think so. Last week you were at a community event for a luncheon, and you mentioned it was over 500 tons of trash.
That was just
year.
Fountain Creek. That was just off of Fountain Creek. So that doesn't
count anything else.
It doesn't. And every day we get a report from Team Up to Cleanup about where they go in the city. They take pictures. I know that you post them on our Facebook page a lot because I think it's important for people to see how their tax dollars are being spent.
Right.
They're cleaning up shopping carts, needles,
tires.
You
see a lot of tires.
Lots of tires. 2 weeks ago, I had all of the teams working the Bessemer area. They went alley to alley. It's not the city's job to clean up the trash in the alley. It belongs to the owner of the property.
Yeah, that's our property.
Meeting
citizens.
Yep. And but the alleyways in Bessemer were pretty compacted with trash. Lots of illegal dumping. So I sent the crew out. There was a burned down abandoned house on route that the city is currently working to tear down right now. And I think the Team Up to Cleanup team found 1,800 needles there. So lots of household waste.
Just at that one
house. Yeah. So it was a dumping ground for somebody. So we're trying to get out there as much as we can. We don't have a ton of staff that's dedicated to it, but we have several different teams and several different avenues that we can take when it comes to cleaning up the city.
Yeah, so I also saw last week Pueblo Police Department did a nice highlight on code enforcement, kind of a before and after of what that looks like for private property. I know I can say that I have received a notice from code enforcement before for some weeds. Thankfully, it wasn't a junk vehicle or anything, but just cleaned up
in
the
your
weeds.
Alleyway.
It was in my alleyway. Yep, it was. Yeah. And so I think they give you like 10 days or something. It wasn't too terrible. But it is really interesting just to see how different each of the teams are and their different functions.
Right. And, if anybody has a bad area that's in their district where they live, they can always contact us. We take tons of calls like that every day. My office kind of sends it out to all of the different groups to see, hey, is this on anybody's radar? Is this city property? Is it private property? Can somebody go out and talk to the owner of this house who's making the complaint? And then we try to work, as swiftly and as quickly as we can to get it cleaned up, whether it's private property or public property.
Right.
We want the city to be clean.
Because it's important.
It is.
And I know we also receive a lot of questions or a lot of complaints. Folks mention railroad property or state property. So I think it was important that you mentioned that we do have the ability to work with outside organizations or coordinate that kind of effort because sometimes, although it's not our jurisdiction, to your point,
it's our city.
And we want it cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
When folks are driving through Pueblo or, getting off the interstate or they see some area that really doesn't look good, we want to address it.
Yeah, it's a safety concern too. In the jungle, some of the encampments were butted right up to the rail tracks.
Sure.
It's very dangerous for people to be living down there. Same thing at the Fountain Creek. So, the railroad does it for safety as well as for just how it looks for the community. And so it's great that we have been able to reestablish those partnerships with the railroad. I don't think that that's always been, we've had great communication with them.
Right.
But we have good communication now. When they need help, we help them. When we need help, they show up to help us. So it's great.
Great. That's fantastic. I do know, I wanted to bring it up because yesterday we had you had posted on your page and someone had asked about maybe employing the homeless. And so I was really glad that you talked about the Catholic Charities Works program. And I think that's not even been in action for a full year yet.
No, not a full year. I think it was like maybe
midsummer last year.
Yeah, that we started the program. So
okay, yeah. So that's fantastic. It's just been great to see all these different efforts and kind of understand what their function is within the city, I guess. So thanks for explaining that.
Sure.
Cool. Okay. Anything else? It's a little bit of a light week because we didn't have council last night.
Yeah, no, I think that's all we have today. Brian, do you have something exciting to share?
I'm just going to say that we're going into summer, it's spring, and there's going to be a lot of events in Pueblo.
Yeah, a lot.
All the way through fall, and everybody get ready.
Yeah, I know we have actually we have a couple events this week. The Van Gogh shuttle, there's a ribbon cutting on Friday. There's Arts Week.
Next weekend, isn't there like a big concert series?
Yeah, we got
downtown. Is that next week?
Yeah, that's next Friday and Saturday, the Steel City Music Festival.
Yeah, Steel City Music Festival. Yeah. I went last year. That was fantastic. It's really cool. A bunch of different bands. Doesn't matter what kind of music you listen to. You can find whatever you're looking for.
And there's several different stages set up in downtown that people can...
Yeah, I think there's 4. So it's right downtown off of Union. I believe it's Presley's, Gold Dust, and maybe somewhere else. And it's a 2-day festival. Go to the webpage. You can buy passes for both days. They have VIP packages. It's going to be pretty cool. And hopefully a lot of people will show up.
Yeah, and hopefully we have good weather.
And that same weekend, we'll have our second legislative breakfast as well.
Legislative Showdown breakfast.
Legislative Showdown, 8 a.m. at the Convention Center. Yep. So get your tickets from the chamber.
It's a really good opportunity for the public to go engage with all their legislators from the state level on all the way down to the local level. And
all in one room.
Yeah, all in one room. You can ask questions. You could talk to them face to face, let them know your concerns, give them props where props are due, and it's a good time.
It's fantastic. Okay, great. Well, then with that, I think we'll...
You don't have any April Fool's jokes for us?
Oh, April Fool's jokes? I don't know about that. Maybe like a prank later, but I'm saving that.
Stay tuned.
For later in the day. Maybe not for the podcast. Okay. Well, that's all we have for today, but if you would like to suggest a topic or you have questions for Mayor Graham, feel free to submit them. mayor@pueblo.us. You can email us. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout. Check it out on Channel 17 locally, wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time.
Have a good week.